Hey guys, so welcome to another VATSTAR training video. Today we have something very special for you guys, and we're doing a setup and tutorial video on the RealSimGear GNS430 and the 530. It's gonna be cool, but without delaying it anymore, let's just get into it. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and set up and install all the plugins for the GPS that you're using. And to do so, you're going to visit the RealSimGear website, realsimgear.com/setup, or just realsimgear.com and click on Setup and Support. You're going to click on Setup Guides and scroll down, look for your setup. Where there is the 530, 430, the GTN 650 or the 750. I will be setting up for the 530. Now you need to know that it doesn't matter which system that you have, the same plugin work on all of them. All you need to do is really pick what simulator it is that you own, whether it's the X-Plane, P3D, and whether it is Windows, Mac, or Linux. Now I have the X-Plane 11 on Windows, so I'm going to click on that and it's going to take me to this page where I can download the installer. Now it's going to ask you which plugin you want to install, whether it's for the 430, 530, the G1000, or the GTN setup, technically all other RealSimGear hardware. So I'm going to set up for the GNS430 and the 530 since I'm using those two. I'm going to hit next. Then it's going to ask you where is your X-Plane located. I'm going to hit browse. This PC. Now I have the Steam edition. And I click on the X-Plane folder. I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to hit install. Now it seems like I had a previous version. And I'm going to hit yes. Perfect. And so the next thing you need to do is you need to update the firmware on your system. And to do so, you're going to visit realsimgear.com/setup. You're going to click on Setup Guides, Firmware Update. And there's two things that you need. You're going to need the actual firmware. And to do so, you're going to click this page. You're going to find the setup that you have, whether it's the 430, 530, or just any of them that you have in there. I'm going to download the 530. You see that going. I'm going to hit the back, and now I'm going to download Xloader. And there is ready. Now, if everything went right with the installer, then you might be able to just skip this step. But if when you open your flight simulator, you're still able to see the bezel around the GPS, then you might want to go back to this step, and which is to download the bezel replacement file, go to this folder on your X-Plane, and just replace it. This goes same for the GNS430. Okay, so the next step is to actually plug in your GPS. So whether you got the GNS430 or the GNS530, both are going to have the USB connector cable. Now the GNS530 is going to have a power source that you will not need on the GNS430. Now another thing that you're going to need for either GPS is going to be an HDMI cable. The next step is to connect your GPS to your computer. Now, if you got the GNS530, this came with an adapter for your HDMI cable. To plug it in, all you need to do is you grab the machine from the back and plug it in. Now, since we're here, we also want to plug in your power adapter. Now, there's two things that the GNS430 did not come with, and that is this adapter and the power cable. both you do not need it for it. So now the last cable you need to plug in is going to be your USB cable, and that's going to go on your sign. Once you have all these three plugged in, all you need to do is connect it to your computer. For the GNS430 or similar steps, as the USB cable is on your side and your HDMI is in the back. There's no power adapter for the GNS430, as a USB would do just about enough. Okay, so now you're almost ready to open your flight simulator, but there's one final step you need to do before you open that, and that is to set up your display settings. What you're going to do is you're going to right click on your Windows, display settings, and now you'll be able to see the windows, the screens on your computer. Think of the GNS as monitors, and you just added them to it. So now what you want to do is you want to move them around as you want to. And for you to know which one is which, you can hit the identify. So I know my main monitor is number 2, my GNS530 is number 1, and then 430 is number 3. So say that I want to leave my GNS530 to the right and then my 430 to the left, then that's all I have to do. My GNS430 number 3 is upside down, and all we have to do is click on display orientation and switch it to flip, and we'll test it one last time, and now it looks a lot better. There's one last thing we need to do before we open the flight simulator now. You could skip this step if you're not using the RealityXP, but if you are, follow this step very closely. So what you want to do is you want to go to your X-Plane 11 folder, your flight simulator folder. You want to find the aircraft that you're going to be using your RealSimGear with. So in our case, we're using the Baron 58. We're going to open that. You're going to see this files here, this the GNS and the GTN, if you're using any of those two. If you do not see any of them, what you want to do is you want to open your flight simulator, go to that aircraft, open your menu, and I'm going to show you how in a second, but regardless, if you don't see it, open the flight simulator and then come back to this step. But if you do see it, then what you want to do is you just want to open it. And now I've already configured mine to show this, but you're looking for this no bezel setting. And what no bezel, or the bezel, what that is all the buttons and all the knobs and things like that, right? So you don't want that if you're using the RealSimGear stuff. All you want is just the screen within, not the buttons, because you already got that, you already bought that. So you want to switch the no bezel to true. So see how it shows false here? You want to make sure that it shows true. So best bet that you do is Control F and put NO and then bezel and go through all of them. You can already see here my first one, it says true. I'm gonna switch that to false because I want to show you the difference between them. But then my second one, I'm gonna leave it as true, right? You have GNS1 and GNS2, right? The second one, I'm gonna leave it as true, and that's it. As long as you have the settings set up how you want it, whether you want number 1 or number 2 or both of them not to show bezel, then just make sure you configure true for no bezel or false if you want to see the bezel. Now I'm going to show you what I'm talking about on the flight simulator. Okay, so now we've finally made it inside the aircraft, and now all you need to do is pretty much just drag and drop your GPS onto your screen. Right now, if you're using the default GNS, the 530 or the 430, it's just very simple. First of all, you want to make sure your avionics is on. If you don't, then nothing is going to work. So you make sure your avionics and your battery is on. You click on that, and so here's your GPS. Right now, we don't have the bezel because of the file that we downloaded through the RealSimGear website. And if you even have to do that, but if you do have the bezel, then go back and download the file, put it on the proper folder, and it will just be like this. Now you have it like this, but you still cannot, it doesn't go to the other monitor. So what you have to do is you just want to click on the top right little button there, and it makes it a Windows, right? And now all you have to do is just drag and drop it onto the right GPS. So now if you guys can see, I have it on my GNS530, and you see how perfect it works, right? Now if you have your RealityXP, then there's a couple more steps that you have to take, and that is to come here to the plugins, the GNS, and if you remember guys, I'm going to be using the GNS2. The one is going to be the 532, is going to be my 430. And also remember when I was talking about if you cannot see the file inside the aircraft folder, then all you have to do is just come here and select the GPS and then go back to it. Close it, go back to it, configure, and that's it. Now you have it, same thing, you cannot move it anywhere. So what you're going to do is you're going to come back to it and then hit the pop out, and again we have that window. So I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop to the GNS, the RealSimGear GNS430. Now there's a couple of settings that you need to do before doing any before working your RealityXP. Right now, if I press any buttons on it, it will work. But when you first do it, it won't work. So, and I'm going to show you how to fix that. You go to plugins. You're going to go to your GNS2 or 1, whichever one you're using, and then hit settings. And then I'm going to tell you, to me, the two most important settings. To me, power source, I switch it to avionics, because in most general aviation, you do not turn on your GPS until your avionics is on. But that's all personal preference. I have it on avionics. I'm going to scroll down, and then the next setting, and this is the most important one, is use simulator GPS commands. If you do not have that selected, then your buttons will not work. So make sure you have that on, and then you hit apply, right? Yeah, you just hit accept, I'm sorry, and it will just get back to its normal stage. It will work at that point. One more thing when it comes to the menu, and it is to just check that this is working, your RealSimGear plugin. So all you're gonna do is gonna select it, you're gonna open it, and you guys can see here my two, the 530 and the 430. If I press any buttons, you see it there kind of updating, right? And you see it here kind of updating too, right? If something is not working, I'm gonna go here first, make sure that it shows that it's connected, that the buttons are working, whatnot. And then of course, if it's just not showing, rescan, disconnect, and if that's not working, then just reach out to them on their chat. They're very good at getting back to you quickly. So that is it when it comes to setting up where you can press buttons and look at your GPS on your RealSimGear GNS430, 530. The GTN, very similar steps. I actually cannot think of a single thing that is different when it comes to the aircraft. Drag and drop. If you're using, this is a little trick I've learned. If you're using the RealitySimGear, the 530 GTN 750, I'm not sure about the 650, but you're gonna see this window thing right here, right? That bar there. For some odd reason, I cannot figure out how to get rid of it on the default GPS, but on the RealityXP, there is a way, and it's actually quite simple. Okay, and that is if you're using the RealSimGear, I'm sorry, the RealityXP GPSs, and they still show that window, all you have to do is you download this software. It's called Borderless Gaming, right? And I have the 9.5.6 version. But all you do is you find the program here. I don't have that program with the 430, so it's kind of hard to show you. And then you you drag it to this side. And that worked. And you can see now I got rid of it. It looks so much nicer now. And you don't have that bar on the top. So now we know it works on the default, and also it works on the RealityXP's the RealityXP software, and it will get rid of that top bar, which I think just kind of looks a little bit ugly. So that's it. That's how you get it working. That's how you get it looking nice. And then now we're gonna move on to showing you guys how to do a basic flight plan. and how to configure some of the things on here. So let's get to it. Okay, so now that we're set up, I just want to take you over a couple of the basic buttons that you have on your GPS. I'm gonna go from left to right, from up down, right? So I'm gonna start in the top, work my way down, and then work my way up, kind of thing. So first one is very easy. You have this button right here, and that is to change your comms channel frequency, right, from standby to active. So you just press that from 122.8 to 123.925. You just do that to switch that. Same thing goes for the V-Lock one. You just press it to switch them. Very easy, right? This right here, this knob, right, and I'm gonna refer to this as the outer knob and the inner knob. So the bigger knob and the smaller knob. The outer knob is gonna be the smaller one. And how you use this, so example on the comms is you switch it. The little one switches the bigger numbers, the 900s, 800s, and then the inner knob, the big one, switches the 122, 130, 119, and that's how you switch them around. Now there's one more thing you can do with these knobs right here, and that's to push them center. And when you do that, you switch to your V-Lock, right? And now you can do the same thing. You can switch your frequencies around. So now that I have one, I can just hit that and it becomes the active one. Okay, so now go into your CDI. That is how you switch from V-Lock, your VOR localizer, to your GPS. 99% of the times you're going to be flying with GPS. You're going to switch to V-Lock whenever you're on your approach. Your ops is going to be also a mode that you're not going to be using much. The one that you're going to be using much and is automatically set for you is your leg mode. You don't have to press a button for that. And your leg mode is whenever you set up a flight plan. And I would show you in a minute. Whenever you set up a flight plan, your GPS is just going to follow that flight plan as is. You switch it to OBS to set up your HSI and things like that. But like I said, about 90% of the times you're going to be flying on leg mode. You're not going to play with that much. Your MSG, your message button, it just stands for what it is. It's just messages you're going to be getting from your setup, your system. I want to tell you guys something. I want to make sure I say something. To show you guys, I'm using the RealityXP GNS430, but most of this actually works for the default as well. Some things like menus and features are not included in the default one, but most of the things are going to be very compatible. Moving on to your FPL, that's your flight plan, and you go there to set up your waypoints and so on, right? Then your VNAV is for your approach. Procedure is going to be for you to select your approach, arrival, your departure as it states. And we're going to be using this together with the flight plan quite often. Then this right here is to change what's in your screen, right? So the bigger knob, right, is going to change your page. And you're going to go from nav to waypoints to auxiliary, nearest, and that's it. So 4 pages, and then the little knob is going to change your screens within these pages. Okay, so now moving on, you have the enter button, you have your clear button, and this is something kind of cool about the clear button is if you hold it, it'll take you right back to your default nav screen page. Then you also have your menu button, and this is where often the default and RealityXP is going to change is on the menu, and also in some cases I want to say your traffic is not going to show and terrain might not show, but biggest thing is there. This right here, this symbol is your direct symbol. And this is if you want to fly direct somewhere without having to work so much the flight plan, or in your flight plan if you want to skip something and fly direct to it, why not? I'll show you how that works later. And this is your zoom, how you zoom in or zoom out, right?
on your screen. And that's it. There's a button here, the VNAP, that is not on the GNS430. And it's there, you just don't have a button for it. How to get to it? You grab the little knob, the outer knob, and you're gonna push it all the way to the right. And that is the same as pressing on there. So just remember that VNAP is right there. Okay, so now I want to tell you guys what's inside your screen, right? So on the top, you already know that that's your comm channel, your frequencies is on there, your VLOC, it's on there. The VR information, all that you see here, you're not going to see that on the same screen as your GNS430. Then terrain on the right is where you're probably going to spend the most time looking at information. Your next waypoint, your desired track, and your actual track, desired DTK and then TRK, desired track and track. DIS stands for distance to your next waypoint, and then ground speed, in my case, is 132 knots. Okay, now down here on the bottom, you see your GPS, and then you see your nav pages. Your GPS would change if you press this to VLOC. And GPS, like I say, you 99%, 95% of the times are going to be flying using GPS. Now down here is your pages, and then also your screens. The page is nav, and then how many screens you have of it, right? And so to switch between pages, you grab the big knob, the inner knob, right? And now we're on the waypoint page, and then you can kind of switch around that. Let me go back to the nav page, and then to switch around the screens, you grab the outer knob, the little knob, and then you move it left or right. There you go, right? So you have different screen, different information, and you can see it's almost the same information as here, but on your default one, you're gonna have also the estimated time to get to the waypoint. Okay, so on this default one, you have the same information. It just looks a little bit different, but that is very similar information. Then we're gonna go to the right. This is your traffic, your TCAS. It's gonna be here, and it's also gonna show your altimeter on the top. Then one to the right is going to be your terrain alerts, and this is where you're gonna be able to see any antennas, or if there's any mountains around you, so on. One to the right, this is going to be any frequencies, and you can push in on it. And what's cool about this is you can actually just set it for you. So now if I click on it, you see it's on your standby. If I wanted to switch it to active, then I just press on that and it will switch it. So through here, you can actually just set up any frequency without having to look through charts, right? And you can very easily just switch around them. Then I'm gonna go one more to the right, and this is any satellite information you're never gonna use that I'm aware of here in any simulator. So I'm gonna press and hold the clear button, and it's gonna bring me back to my default my default screen. And then if I zoom in, you can kind of see how far and the details of the map. And talking about details, how much information do you want to see on your screen? You can actually switch it very, very easily, and that is by pressing the clear button different times. So if you press it once, let me zoom out, you're gonna see how the more you press, the more information goes away, and it's just down to the basic ones until you get them all back. So whenever you're flying in popular areas, very active areas like Miami or whatnot, you're gonna have a lot of information, including roads and things like that. You can turn that off on the menu, or you can just very easily just clear this information out and then just go down to just a very basic map of your flight plan. That's it. Now let me go on to the next page, and that is your waypoint page. And like I said, you still have different pages, but this is some of the information for the airport, and it will tell you a little bit of that, just a little bit about that airport, the runways. Same thing for the frequencies. And here goes your RNAV approaches, your arrivals, right? And same thing will go for any kind of departures and things. And then back to some airport information. I'm gonna clear this out, go back to my nav page. And you can see here I'm only 20 seconds from getting to Keiko. Now, as we get closer to it, on the 10-second mark, you see here this message pop in the bottom, right? And it tells you what heading you need to set to in order to go to the next waypoint. Now, I'm flying with the nav, so I don't have to do anything, but if you're flying manually or with your heading bug, then that's the heading that you want to set to for that one. Now, my next destination, my next waypoint, it's just pretty much almost a straight line there, so not much of a change. Now, I'm gonna move on to my other page. Okay, so this is your flight plan screen, and from here you can actually set up information such as, like it says, fuel planning, scheduler, crossfill, and things like that. So all of the settings, I'm gonna tell you probably best that you go playing around with them. But you want to press your button in your inner knob, in your outer knob, the little one, and then scroll down to whichever one you like. See, very easy. And then you can set up your fuel plan, and it will tell you all this good information. And also to go back, you also press the knob here. Something to play with, I kind of like to, if you ever need any kind of reminders, is your scheduler. And then what's cool about this is you can actually set up a message, a reminder to check your fuel, check your crossfeed, set your arrival, whatever, and you can tell it to do this on a one time, like it says there. Or you can set it to be every flight, 30 minutes after you took off, whatever. You can set up timers. A scheduler pretty much just send you messages, and they will show up on your message board. So this is a pretty cool way to get reminded of things you might have forgotten. So moving on, I'm gonna press done. There you go. You can set up checklists on here, and it's just so much information that you can set up on here. The checklist is a pretty neat one if you want to just run your checklist through your GNS. I will say though, you actually import them in. You do them as files, and then they will show up on here, and you can click on it. And then you see more information here. You can set up your times, things like that. And then the last one, also very important, is your nearest, right? So from here, you can actually see what's airports and waypoints near you. In this case, is the nearest airports, interceptions, the NDB, VOR, and these are user set, right? So again, if something is not showing on your GPS, on your flight, on your database, you can actually set up your own waypoints, airports, or just spots in the GPS that you can later on just fly to them. And then your RTX, right? I'm flying right now in the Seattle RTX. Very, very, very friendly, right? I'm gonna click. Okay, so we are here in your screen, and what I'm going to show you guys works pretty much the same as for the GNS530. Same thing for your GNS430. It looks a little bit different, but it does work pretty similar. So now you want to set up a flight plan, and we are sitting at Astoria Airport, and that's Kilo Alpha Sierra Tango. We're going to be flying to Kilo Tango Tango Delta, and that's in Portland, Oregon, right? and it's a very short route and a very easy flight plan to input, but you guys can have an idea on how to do so, right? So the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna hit the FPL button, the flight plan button. Now often it's gonna put the first waypoint as the closest airport that you're in, or the airport that you are on, right? In our case, like I said, we're in Kilo Alpha Sierra Tango. Now something I want to make sure you guys are familiar with this is the fact that if you are on an airport that is not recognized on the simulator, on the GPS, you might get the closest airport to you. And that is perfectly fine as long as you're aware of that. So make sure you check that before you go out flying. Now to go ahead and add a waypoint to it, it's just very simple. On this knob right here, you're gonna push in, and you see that's a selector right there, and it's selecting the next line that you can do. The next thing, you're gonna get your outer knob, the little knob, and you're gonna push it one to the right. And now it already inputs the first letter in for you, which is Kilo. Now the reason why it's putting Kilo is because you're in the US, or we are in the US, and it's gonna input our airport first letter in, which is Kilo. But if say that you're on the Bahamas or something, it might just put an M for you. But that's fine. We are actually this time flying to a waypoint called Keiko. So Kilo Echo India Kilo Oscar. So we're just going to do one knob, the bigger knob, one to the right, since we're going to keep that K in there, and we're going to use a little knob to look through the alphabet, right? So the next one is going to be an E. And then once we have that, we're going to use the bigger knob, the inner knob, and push it one to the right. And we're going to look for the I now, India. Perfect. Outer knob again for looking for Kilo again. And then the last one is Oscar. So O. Perfect. Now see, it already confirms with you that it's an interception northwest of the US, and the position and everything. It would confirm before you add it. And this often becomes helpful. So since there could be a couple of them, a couple similar waypoints, you just want to make sure you're in the right area. So you're going to hit enter once, and you see how it sets it for you. That little arrow right there, that is your direct to arrow. Whenever you see that, that means that the GPS is trying to get to it. That's where it's going to next. So the next one we're going to input is Bravo Tango Golf. And again, we're going to use the outer knob, the little one, and we're going to push it one to the right. It's going to have Kilo set for us, but we don't need Kilo, so we're going to go with the little knob to the left and look for Bravo. And then bigger knob, one to the right, so we can move to the next line, looking for Tango. Bigger knob, and now we're looking for G, Golf. All right, battleground, northwest of US, and we're gonna hit enter. Now the last one we're gonna set is the actual airport, and that's Kilo Tango Tango Delta. So again, little knob to the right. K is already set for us, so that's awesome. We're gonna go bigger knob, one to the right, and look for Tango. Twice. And then Delta. And there's our airport. We're gonna hit enter. And that is how you set up a flight plan. Now I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the fact that we only have the arrow going from the airport to Keiko, and that is perfectly fine as long as that's where we want to go to next. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit the clear button. I'm sorry, the flight plan button, and it's going to bring me back to the navigation screen. I'm gonna zoom out. And now you guys can see my flight plan going to Kilo Tango Tango Delta to Oregon. Now I want to go ahead and I want to go back. I'm going to show you guys something. The magenta line is the one that we fly, and the white line is the one that goes after. Say that I want to fly direct to Bravo Tango Golf. all I have to do is I'm gonna go here to flight plan. I'm gonna push in. Now with the bigger knob, I'm gonna select my Bravo Tango Golf and I'm gonna hit the direct to button. It's gonna tell me, it's gonna ask me to select it. I'm gonna hit enter once, enter twice. And now, if you look back on the flight plan, you see how the arrow is right here at the Bravo Tango Golf. So that means that we're gonna fly straight from here to there, and we're gonna skip Keiko, yeah. And that is how you use that. Now, let's just say that instead of doing that, I wanna fly to 5-6 Sierra. So I'm gonna hit this little knob. I'm gonna look for my numbers. And I wanna say it was Sierra. And now I'm gonna hit enter. And now you see how the magenta line is going this way. It's pretty much just clear my entire flight plan. And that is perfectly fine. You don't have to fly with a flight plan as long as, you know, as soon as I'm getting to that airport, and if I still want to go to Kilo Tango Tango Delta Oregon, I'm just going to click here as I'm getting close to it. And I'm going to switch that with the outer knob to that one airport. Let's just keep it at that for purpose of being quick. And you see right here, it's already telling me to turn a heading to be able to make it to a flight plan. So I'm gonna zoom out and we're gonna see which random waypoint I select. And it's so far off, we can't even see it. And there you go. That is how you set up a flight plan. Extremely simple, very, very easy. Next, I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to set up an approach and how to configure some of your menus. Now, you know, I'm 9 minutes away from Bravo Tango Golf. So I'm gonna zoom out and you can see I'm already kind of getting to my destination. Now let's talk a little bit about approach, procedure, right? So I'm gonna hit that. I'm gonna click on, and so I have the options of select an arrival, select an approach, right? Okay, so let me show you the difference between the three options, right? So you can select an arrival, and you do move it by moving the bigger knob and then pressing the enter button. And then here's asking you to select which two arrivals you want to play with, right? So you can select either one. I'm not sure which one makes the most sense for this flight plan. I'm just gonna select a random one. I'm gonna click on it. It's gonna ask me what transition we're gonna be using. So again, just random information. And then which runway am I landing on, right? So 7. And you can see here, it gives you an overview of what the flight plan is going to look like, or the approach is going to look like. This might not be the best one for us, but I can see Bravo Tango Golf on there, so maybe I can just tell it to fly directly to it, and from there take over. So I'm going to hit load, and you see it already adds it for me. So I'm going to select here, and I'm going to scroll down, go through the whole thing. And you see that, right? And it's the same thing as up here. So what I'm gonna do, so I can skip all of the steps right here, I'm gonna select it, hit the direct, enter twice, and nothing has changed. Everything remains the same, but now the difference is I'm flying that approach. Now I'm gonna go back to procedures, select approach, and I'm gonna hit the Clara. Now here it's gonna ask me if I want to load it or if I want to activate it. Let's just go ahead and activate it now. As soon as I hit activate, it's gonna switch. It's going to go from my current flight plan to this. Now you guys can see up here the waypoint that I'm going to, but that's technically not what it wants me to do. It's gonna fly me down here to Clara. So I'm gonna hit activate, and you already see it's telling me to make a change, right? And the reason is we're supposed to be flying to the right. Now you can see I'm already starting to make the right turn. Perfect. So, and this is the beauty of flying on leg mode, is whenever I make any kind of change and I'm flying with my nav, is I just make the change on the GPS, and leg mode is going to take it into account. It's going to make the turns for me. It's going to calculate what kind of degree turn I need, and it's going to try to make it as smooth as possible. Now there's one more thing down here, and that is select departure. Now we're not really messing much with that, but see, it's just picking the closest airport to me, right? But then if I had any kind of departure, it's just gonna ask me which one I want to set to, if I want to activate it or not, and it's just gonna be all in there. So, you know, like I can think of like the Miami departure. If you had the Winco's whatever number departure, it would show in here, and you set it and you fly with it. Now you see here, activate approach, activate vectors to final. That is if you, in this case, we already activated on the approach. But if I want to go ahead and just set up vectors to final, I can just click on that, and you see how everything has changed again, right? And we're already on LNAV, and then whenever I'm ready for the approach, as I'm getting closer, I'm going to switch it to my LNAV, my VLOC. There you go. That is a very, very basic introduction to the approach and your flight plan. Now moving on to the menu, and the menu could be a little bit different depending on the system that you have, right? But almost any page that you're in has a setting, has an option for your menu. So if we go here, see how we can click on enable auto zoom. That's up to you. Change the fields, and that's what it'll be. That's gonna be what you see in here. You can change that. If we go to the flight plan and I click menu, it's going to give me the option to just delete it all. We can remove the approach, select the departure. We can make so many changes right from here. And let's just delete flight plan so you see what just happens. Okay? And it clears it completely out, and I'll go here and I have a blank page. And you can see I already have so much more information on there. And again, if I was to hit the clear, it will start taking off things off my screen so I can concentrate on whatever it is that I need. In this case, I want to see it all. Let's say that I'm on here. See, everything, almost everything has, every page has a different menu that you can go over. You can see what works for you or what not. Well guys, thank you for watching the video. I know it was quite long. I think it's like what, 40 some minutes, but I hope you liked it, and hope that you did learn something from it, or as much as I did making it. If you have any questions, any suggestions, anything, I'm always open to it. Just email me, put it in the comments, whatever you need. And my email is ceo@vatstar.com. If you have any questions about anything I touched there, anything I missed there, you can email it to me. And if I don't know the answer, I'll get you to the right people, whether that's the RealSimGear staff or the RealityXP, doesn't matter. Just send it my way and I'll get you in touch with the right person. I want to say a huge thank you to the RealSimGear staff for being very supportive about these videos and sending us the equipment back there to make it with. So a huge thank you to them. And as you guys can see, I already have it in my setup back there. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's probably the coolest feature that I have. So I recommend it to anyone, and hopefully this video makes it a little bit easier for you to set up and, you know, get started with it. So now on to the next one. See ya.